What's up guys, this is Magnolia Mo, and today we are going to take a look at the SMSL PA200 Gallium Nitride power amplifier. In the box you have a power cord, a remote control, an SMSL inspection card, a user manual in Chinese and in English, and here is the main attraction. The SMSL PA200 Gallium Nitride power amplifier for $419 US. The front is typical SMSL with the volume and the menu dial in the middle. You have some isolation feet at the bottom. You got your RCA line in inputs, and then you have an XLR mono in input to use if you are going to use two of these in a mono setting, which actually doubles the power, and we're going to go over that in just a second. You also have your binding posts for your left and right speakers. If you're going to use this in a mono setting, then you connect the far left and far right terminals to your speaker. And then you have your power switch and your power inlet, and that is it for the back. To access the menu, you can press the volume knob and it will bring up the menu, or you can use the supplied remote control and press the enter button, the middle button right there. And the first option is the amp menu, where you have volume control, pure amp stereo, and pure amp mono. Volume control on is if you want to use an external DAC and then use the volume on the unit itself, and then the pure amp stereo and pure amp mono is for an external preamplifier. The next three options are dimmer, brightness, and reset, which are pretty self-explanatory. And that is it for the menu. So I listened to the SMSL in my desktop setup with a Pro-Ject Pre-Box S2 as the DAC connected to my PC, the Pro-Ject connected to the SMSL, SMSL connected to my Bowers & Wilkins 686 S2s. I also connected the SMSL to my Martin Logan Montage speakers in my stereo rig, the Pioneer Elite VSX52 running as a preamp connected to the SMSL, using a pair of AudioQuest Rocket 44 speaker cables and an AudioQuest RCA, I believe it's the Tower RCA cable. Power that adapts to every listening style. The SMSL PA200 is a power amp built for audiophiles who value power, flexibility, and detail. You can buy one and use just one in a stereo setting, right? Powering 2 channels, and that will deliver 85 watts per channel into 8 ohms. You can use it in a mono mode, as I illustrated earlier, and you can have 2 of them, and you can double the power up to 400 watts into 4 ohms. It features the same GaN, the gallium nitride transistor design that's found on the SMSL PA-X. It features dual RCA inputs and an XLR input, which you can use in your mono configuration. So XLR from your preamp or your DAC directly into 2 of these, right? And you can run them as mono, or you can choose the dual RCA inputs if you want to just run them in a stereo mode. It has very low distortion, 0.003%, and a high signal to noise ratio of 110 dB maximum. And then the binding posts, which are heavy duty in my opinion, they can take thick banana plugs, as you saw the AudioQuest Rocket 44s. Those banana plugs are pretty big and pretty hefty. Those fit in here with no issues whatsoever. So from a dimension standpoint, it is rather small. It's only 1.81 inches in height, with the feet 8.66 inches in depth and 6.89 inches wide. It is 3.17 pounds, so it's sort of light. It's not too heavy, and then it does get hot. Okay, so it just in the standby mode, when I'm not, when it's not playing, this actually dissipates quite a bit of energy.
I caught sight of my reflection.
Now, from a music standpoint, how does it sound? I listened to a number of tracks and songs, and the ones that I'm going to go over right now are the ones that stand out and that I want to talk to you guys about. Peter Gabriel's Blood of Eden on his album Us. I have that on SACD as well as DSD rips in 24-bit 2.8 megahertz. Blood of Eden is a dark and emotional song with haunting instrumentation which combines electronic elements with traditional sounds, creating a rich atmospheric backdrop that enhances the lyrical content. Peter Gabriel's introspective lyrics combined with the haunting musical arrangement create a deeply resonant experience that invites listeners to reflect on their own connections and inherent struggles that come with them. Blood of Eden opens with the line, "I caught sight of my reflection. I caught it in the window. I saw the darkness in my heart." When he says reflection, right, that literally is accompanied by resonance and reflection in the recording. I'm always mindful, of that resonance and that sort of reflection, that reverberation, right? I'm always mindful of that, when I'm listening to this track through different DACs, through different amplifiers, and it actually stood out for me with the SMSL PA200 more than it has with, let's say, the PA-X. Throughout the song, Gabriel's vocal delivery is both powerful and vulnerable. The late Sinead O'Connor provides the backup vocals on this particular song. O'Connor's voice can be heard during the chorus and is accompanied by Gabriel in his regular, vocal register that he typically sings with. Through the SMSL, the soundstage along with the vocals are dark. The exceptional tonality in the bass comes through accurately. Not as dark as I've heard on other tube amps, right? But the SMSL did a great job with this track.
I caught sight of my reflection. I caught it in the...
On the greatest ballad of all time, at least in my opinion, Lionel Richie's Hello from the album Can't Slow Down, 24-bit, 96 kilohertz FLAC. I also have it on music Blu-ray disc. I love the soundstage on this particular track. The guitar is on the left and the piano is centered between the left and right speakers, along with Lionel Richie's, voice anchored by the bass. The best part for me is at the 2-minute 43-second mark when the drums and the guitar light up the listening space and the soundstage just literally expands. Listening through the SMSL, the music on my 2-channel setup or the desktop setup here with the B&W 686S2s, was very enjoyable. The entire song just comes alive at that moment. The last track that I want to share with you guys is Come Away With Me from Norah Jones, 192 24-bit recording on Tidal. The song via the SMSL PA200, was warm, inviting, not quite tube-like, right? But also not overly bright. Just overall, and I would say it was neutral sounding in my opinion. The brush on the snare was imaged perfectly from left to the right at the start of the song without any harshness and overextension that I can get sometimes from other amplifiers. Norah Jones' voice is always centered along with the piano that she's playing. The electric guitar is on the left and the acoustic guitar is on the right. All throughout the song, the brush on the snare can be heard in the background ever so slightly. Just a great experience through the SMSL PA200. So in summary, the bass is punchy without sounding bloated on the SMSL. The soundstage throughout had quite a bit of depth with clear separation between instruments and vocals. The SMSL has the power to drive the Martin Logan Montage, which are 5 ohm speakers, right, to reference levels, right, and did a great job, you know, with lots of control. The big difference between the PA200 and the PA-X is the power supply, in my opinion. The PA-X has the larger power supply, but the circuitry is the same on both the PA200 and the PA-X. As one of my viewers accurately pointed out, and I'm going to quote this viewer, when configured in the stereo mode, the PA200 doubles the power into 4 ohms, which the PA-X does not. The PA200 is 85 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 160 watts per channel into 4 ohms in the stereo mode, which suggests that it is a high current amplifier that can drive difficult 4 ohm loads, right? So that's based on my listening, that, you know, I agree with that. The PA-X is 200 watts per channel into 8 ohms and only 250 watts into 4 ohms, which, you know, will suggest that it will have a difficult time driving 4 ohm speakers. But in my experience, you know, when I had the PA-X, I'm going to leave that review for you guys to reference. When I had the PA-X, I didn't have any issues driving the Montage or the B&Ws, you know, in my setup, with given that wattage and given, you know, the specifications. So, but the big selling point, in my opinion, is when this is configured in the mono mode, right? 2 PA200s, they will combine to have, you know, 4 of those DAM 1 circuit boards. Each PA200 has 2 of them, right? So if you have 2 in a mono setup, you're gonna have 4 of those DAM 1 circuit boards. And what that does is increases the power capacity, right? So each is then gonna deliver 400 watts per channel into 4 ohms. If you have power hungry speakers and you're looking for more power, you know, you can get 2 of these. Like I said, you know, you can start in the stereo mode and see how it does. I had no issues driving the speakers behind me with this particular amp. So both the PA-X and the PA200, in my opinion, they're both good amplifiers. It's just the price point, right? $419. I think this is a very good deal where you can comfortably, you know, have a good sounding stereo system. All right, guys, I hope you found this video useful. As usual, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.